G'day, episode 11 of Mockpod.
Yeah, 1 for a month. Yeah,
That's amazing. How are you feeling about going to China? You've never been.
Yeah, I'm really excited.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, how about you?
Nothing much. Just been sitting around watching a lot of TV and film. And when I say TV, I don't watch TV that much, to be honest with you. And you know my stance on this, right? I feel very strongly that film's still superior to TV. Now, it's not a commonly held view.
Okay, yeah, no, it's. But why do you think that? You know, like a film's a really nice experience, like a nice short experience. It should be short to be effective, really.
And that's one of the things I love about film, yeah.
Yeah, you know, being able to really engage someone fully and completely for, 2-3 hours, let's say. And
it's a great challenge.
Yeah, it is. And to really hold their attention and to make them walk away and feel like, wow, their mind's just been blown and they've felt... You know, they talk about it being like an art piece often and just being, from start to finish, it should just be that ride that you go on.
Sure.
What about you?
Well, for me, I guess the great thing about film, just the same, the time commitment in a time-poor world, it's minimal. And also, I think there's an art to delivering some emotional concept in a short time frame. It's a skill, and it goes back to something like, I once asked this great Russian director, Andrei Tarkovsky, they said, what's unique about film? He said, editing. Because in all other art forms like painting and sculpting and all that, you don't have the element of editing time. That's what he said.
Yeah.
So that very notion itself defines film, I think. People like Alfred Hitchcock used to say, film should be equivalent to the endurance of a human bladder. So about 2 hours,
Yeah.
So it's that thing that it is a discipline and an art, I think, to doing something so succinctly.
Yeah, definitely. And the fact that it's all just done in one session. It's pretty cool.
Well, you're a big stickler for TV. You watch a lot of TV.
Yeah, I do find myself watching more and more TV these days than film. I would say the biggest thing is that when you find like a story or
something that captures you,
that you like, it just feels like you've got this endless supply of it, and that feels really nice. It feels like that you're getting something new every week, and then every
almost
year.
like a drug. You can go finish a hard day at work and then dip into another couple of episodes of your favourite show.
Have a hit of Walking Dead, or have a hit of Game of Thrones.
Well, that's a solid point. What's the major drawback for you in either art form? Can you give me one major drawback?
Well, I think definitely for TV, I'd say the time commitment, because there's a lot.
You got to have sometimes 13 hours, and sometimes you can't stop watching it. It's so addictive, right? But for me, the main thing about TV is it sucks when you've invested all these hours and you get to an absolutely atrocious ending. And I'm talking about shows like Californication, which wasted 7 years of my life, or seven seasons.
You get that feeling.
Yeah, I mean, look, spoiler, but David Duchovny ends up with, the girl of his sort of dreams kind of thing. And look, it wasn't real life. I'm sorry. It was just ridiculous. And then Dexter, I mean, that's world renowned for being an absolute failure.
Awful.
Yeah, and if you've invested all this time, and not only time, but years, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a massive letdown.
I do get your point. I think they end up saying, look, I really liked the show for the first 2 seasons or whatever, or 1 season, and then really it was terrible after that. But the ending, that's the worst of them.
It's a terrible feeling.
But it's one of those, yeah.
Can you tell me when you felt that, you've had that experience, you've invested all this time, you've loved the show, you've enjoyed it, and then you've come to this denouement or whatever finale that just didn't pay dividends? What do you...
Yeah, I think... There's a few, but I mean, Dexter for me was one as well, because I was pretty invested in that. I enjoyed that a lot.
Sons of Anarchy? Or you got mixed feelings about that one?
Yeah, I have mixed feelings about Sons of Anarchy.
You're such a loyalist to that show.
Just like that feeling of the motorbike, looking at both sides of the road and just, don't know which direction I want to go. It's a bit like that because it does have some things going for it, the ending, I think, but sometimes I do think it was pretty weak as far as what could have happened.
Let me go back to a favourite topic of yours, The Walking Dead. I mean, if it was to end in a terrible fashion, how are you going to look back on that series? Because you've invested a lot of time.
Honestly, it's very important, like you said, how they end it, because at the end of the day, it's like when you're a fighter, they only remember your last fight. You're only as good as your last fight.
Exactly.
It's kind of like that. You're only as good as your last episode, because I can guarantee you that shows like Game of Thrones and shows like Walking Dead, man, if they have disappointing endings,
can you imagine Game of Thrones ending badly? It's such a worldwide phenomenon now.
People would riot.
I mean, you're talking about it's going to be up to we just finished season 7, so 8 seasons all up by the end of it. I mean, successful shows, like for me, Sopranos with that magnificent blackout or fade to black. Sorry, spoiler there as well. Sopranos really worked. Like that was a beautifully ended series.
Yeah.
Do you have any favorites? Like
The Breaking Bad, I thought was pretty good.
yeah, I think it was really solid with again spoiler.
The spoiler show.
Well, I mean the ending. Let's say the fate that befell him, like it was really just. Yeah,
it was. Yeah,
and you spent time with that character, and it was a very natural evolution to that ending, I think.
Yeah.
But do you see any cons with film? I don't personally, but
only that. The biggest con is that it's very difficult to make a really nice, concise narrative that people want to watch for 2 hours, I think, and we see a lot of shit out there, so it's hard to sometimes dedicate the time to, I don't know, finding the good ones out of those.
That's what I mean. It's like a jewel in the rough. It's a great thing that you actually can find, something amidst all these bad films. I have this hit rate. Like I believe I have to watch 10 films to get to one good one. So here's a question. Okay, someone's resistant to watching TV. I mean, how do you get them into it? You're very good you're quite clever in getting me into Game of Thrones, by the way.
Well, okay, let's use Game of Thrones as an example, because that was a show
that's a phenomenon, though.
It is a phenomenon, but it took me... I remember when my ex-flatmates and I watched that, and we saw the first 3 episodes, and even after episode 3, we were sitting there going, man, I don't know what's even going on. I don't know if we want to keep watching this. And then we ended up making the decision to keep watching it, and I think... Yeah, just making sure that, like, when you introduce stuff like that, for example, that you just really say, oh, look, commit to 3 episodes, because you're doing yourself a favour,
Well, I guess it's akin to saying to someone when you watch a film, like, oh, look, get past the first 30 minutes,
and then you'll love it.
Yeah.
Because, some films pick up speed, and,
Yeah, it's true. I mean, it happens, but,
but the same goes with TV shows.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah.
So, anyway, what else have you been doing through the week? Have you been driving much or whatever? Because I've been driving heaps, and I've got a bit of a story or two to tell.
Yeah, what's tell me your story? What happened?
Well, I'm just driving my, little hatchback, innocuous vehicle, and I've just turned the corner in a quite suburban street, and next thing you know, sirens are blaring. And once again, I'm pulled over. Now, Asian stereotypes, and I just wondered, like, have you encountered many Asian stereotypes? Like... some stereotypes, to be honest, are true.
Well, let's stick to the driving one. Let's say Asians can't drive.
Oh, Asians can't drive. That's right.
And of course, when they say can't drive, well, they can, but they drive really badly. Is what people
That's
really
exactly right. You got to clarify.
That should be the
100%. That's what. Look, if anyone's been to China and anyone's seen the road rules over there and how people drive, is it any wonder that cultural sort of I don't know, how do you put it? That cultural method of driving is transported elsewhere overseas.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty legit cause.
I mean, I think the thing too is that do you consider yourself a bad driver?
No,
not that you don't up to it, but
no, I consider myself a very good driver.
I think you're a good driver.
Very objectively. Well, I haven't ever. I think I've had one speeding fine.
Yeah, but do you
long ago, and that was it.
So you're defining it according to things that happen.
Well, yeah, but also, okay, if you don't look at that metric, then you probably just look at, obviously, your skills as a driver. I think I'm a good driver.
Do you think I'm a good driver?
I think my direction is shit, by the way, but I think my driving is good.
Fair. There's
now,
a difference.
Is there a difference? I don't know.
There is.
Most people saying, are you a good driver, would probably require you to know the road.
Let me put it this way. One is a moot point now because of GPSs.
True.
So, that's the way I put it.
But I think if I go around a racetrack, it'd be pretty good.
When's the last time you went around a racetrack?
Never, I think. Oh, in a go-kart. But... What about you? Would you consider yourself a good driver?
Well, that's why I put it to you.
Or do you fit the stereotype?
I think I'm a good driver because I've survived a lot of issues on the road that weren't not my fault, So a lot of last minute escapes and things because of people driving badly around me. So on that count, I would say,
Well, are you asking it objectively? Do I think you're a good driver? I think you're overall a really good driver. There's only one main thing. It's that, like, roundabouts, you love sticking the nose of the car into the roundabout.
And you know what? I'd say you're probably right. I mean, look,
I just don't know why humanly you have to penetrate the roundabout so far.
Can I say that I picked this up from my aunt because let's just say I have observed a few, trials and tribulations traveling with her, and for some reason, bad habits stick, and
it was the given method. Just go deep into the roundabout.
I just thought that's how you did it. So
I'm just saying. Otherwise, you're very good. I think.
Hey, look, I don't deny that. Maybe we should get on to another stereotype.
Okay, do you have one? I gave you one.
Well, what about the Asians are good at maths?
Okay. Right. Asians good at maths. Asians
good at school.
Good at calculations. Yeah, school.
Yeah. So what do you reckon about that? Asians good at academia and all that.
Honestly, I think there's certainly an element of truth in that, because you've got all these families, like especially the immigrant families and stuff, who they've come here giving their kid a good education to better their lives or whatever.
Yeah.
And so there's definitely
that
pressure from above to say, hey, you guys need to fucking perform because we're paying a lot of money for you to go to these schools or whatever. And then and then at the end of the day, a lot of these under pressure, so they do perform as well. I mean, we know that you need some pressure to perform. But
I guess you're right about that. The conservative parents who push and prod you towards a very strict education.
But do you think?
Have you got another? Because I've got a massive one about language, right? A lot of people go, "Oh, Asians talk loudly," especially Chinese. They're loud talkers.
Yeah.
But the fact is that. Because the myth is this: Mandarin's melodious, and then Cantonese is this ugly, choppier sounding language.
Yeah.
And then from our background as language teachers, interestingly enough, I think it goes back to the fact that Cantonese have got many syllables that end in plosives.
Which ones are considered sweet to hear? Cantonese or Mandarin?
Mandarin is because it's got the nasal endings. It's got the so they're holding sounds.
Yeah.
Whereas Cantonese releases sounds. That's the best way to get it out.
Interestingly enough, I find it more pleasant to listen to Cantonese, but I guess
that's because you're a Cantonese speaker.
Yeah, it's because I understand it.
Yeah, you can't objective.
I don't know what the foreign is. So, my brain isolates.
You got another one?
A lot of Asians do martial arts.
Okay, are Asians good at kung fu?
Good at kung fu. I guess that's a better way to say it.
I'd say yes. I mean, look. It goes back to biology. Okay, I always talk about the Olympics. Okay, how many 100-meter Asian sprinters have you seen? How many?
There's one Japanese dude at the moment who's pretty good.
All right.
Yeah, he's considered the new Usain Bolt.
Okay,
even though he's about 5'10". And
all right, but in the history though, that's an odd case.
In the grand scheme of the event, very.
Well, how many marathons have or track and field gold medals has China won? I don't think
not many. I mean, they've got a couple of good runners, but it's nothing like some of those other nations. Obviously, the African nations and some of the Eastern European nations and stuff.
Look, when the Eastern Europeans back in the day invested their let's say special supplements program, they were heading a certain
has lasting effects.
It wasn't towards kung fu and stuff. I mean, not that it was in the Olympics, but But what I'm trying to say, I guess, is that things like fast twitch muscle fibers, the build of the body, muscle mass, differences like that.
I've often thought the hand-eye coordination and physical agility in fine and also gross motor movements have always been really strong. I mean,
this is easy to talk about because what you're doing is complimenting yourself on you're patting yourself on the back right here. Well, everything you say, you're essentially patting yourself on the back, aren't you?
No. I'm just saying that
agility. Yeah,
but what I'm saying,
good fine motor skills.
Yeah,
and you'd say you've got those, wouldn't you?
I think I've always been pretty good at catching things, for example.
Yeah, you'd say you'd have them in abundance. But let's get to the big one. Okay, Asians handling drink. Can Asians handle alcohol? Okay, Asians are famous for going red in the face.
Yeah.
What's it all mean? Break it down for us.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what's the basic answer? Yes or no?
Well, why do Asians go? Do we agree that Asians generally go red in the face?
Yeah, the vast majority of them do.
Majority do.
A good 70-80%.
Yeah, I was going to say majority do.
If you count, we're looking at East China, Southern China. Southeast Asia as well, this area. Yeah. The reason that you go red is basically because you've got too much ethanol in your system.
Okay.
Right.
But isn't it something? I heard there's something to do with how we don't have the enzyme to break alcohol down.
Yeah. So what it is one of our enzymes, which is alcohol dehydrogenase. Yeah. It's not that it can't break it down, but what it does is it breaks it down too efficiently. It actually breaks it down too fast. I think. If you go around and just anecdotally ask any Asian, are they drunk? Have they had issues in the past with over use of alcohol? And I think the vast majority are going to say no, because I don't know about you, but for example with me and pretty much every Asian I know, after probably 4 or 5 beers, they're falling asleep. They're like, don't really want to drink anymore.
True.
I don't. And basically, because you get that feeling so quickly, I think a lot of Asians don't really drink that much alcohol, to be honest.
Okay. Look, just going back to the bad driving thing and all that, can I just touch on another thing? Like cars, right? Do you know that the statistics have been done, or there's some studies like have found that silver and white cars can be quite good
Right? In terms of visibility.
Safety. Yeah, because of visibility.
Yeah.
And from my personal experience, I think like white, yellow, and red are really good cars to own.
Yep.
Or those coloured cars are good to own because, look, touch wood, or in Polish, odpukacz, I'd say that I haven't had any accident whatsoever since I've been driving a red car, and I'm talking about 65,000 k on the road.
And your red car's not actually that
What's
red
maroon?
either. Yeah, exactly. It's not really vibrant red. It's
But
kind of like a very muted dark red.
Prior to this car, I'm going to have to fess up and say, not through any fault of my own, and this has been proven through insurance, I've been hit twice, once in my grey car, once in my green car, and they are both considered high statistical dangers for accidents. Look, and
grey cars as well. Grey?
No. Well, yeah, black, a grey, blue, green, red.
Yeah.
Because silver's different to grey, right?
Yeah.
So we're talking about those kind of shades. And honestly, you have a white car.
Yeah.
You haven't had one iota of an incident, right?
No, I think...
there's something in that, I think.
Yeah, definitely. It's just one of those things. It's not only the visual contrast thing of... There are not many backgrounds where, a white car is going to stick out.
Yeah.
Or a yellow car is going to stick out, not going to stick out. So I think definitely that's probably the reason. There is something else to do with, at a scientific level, like the wavelength. It relates to actually the, what do they call it? The photospectrum, is that what they call it?
You mean like as in the colours of the rainbow kind of thing?
Yeah, like in terms of...
ultraviolet spectrum?
The spectrum, because basically they were saying that the colours that have a longer wavelength, which I think are the stuff like white, red, orange, they basically have... longer wavelengths, which means that they can get to you more easily and quicker.
Makes sense.
Yeah, so when it's reflected into your eye, you get that really fast.
Does this go back to the art thing of like warm colours come forward and dark colours recede? Is it that kind of idea?
Yeah, maybe, maybe. I mean, it certainly would make sense. Like our brains would occupy that space and make it so that those light colours are...
Would you buy cars in the future based on that colour theory?
I think that's one of the important things. Yeah, like just not having accidents. I think it's a great thing.
Yeah.
But the second one is actually just keeping it clean too, because I don't know if you found...
Well, you think a dirty car's more prone to be in an accident?
No, just that for example, if you get a black car, you're not only signing up for a car that is more prone to accidents, but you're also signing up for a car that gets so dirty so easily. So,
Sure.
I mean, obviously it's a bit vain to clean your car so much, but you can have rust issues and stuff too. So... But at the end of the day, I think, why wouldn't you include it in your choice? I mean, you can get that cherry red Ferrari or whatever if you want. Or...
So I was listening to a podcast this week with the comedian Eliza Schlesinger, and she said something about how the majority of people in the world, it's quite controversial, but she said most, basically geared towards mediocrity, and only a few selected... people can really rise to greatness. So
meaning are capable of...
Like, basically, if you come from an abusive, criminal background, you're not going to succeed as well as someone from a high-income, loving family on the whole. Like, there are, rare exceptions, but...
For sure. So it's like saying some people are born into positions in life, socially or economically, where they can't... they just can't have the same level of chance of doing these things, same opportunities.
Okay, well, let me put it this way. How much do you think... Let's say you want to be a musician, I want to be a musician, right?
Yeah.
How much will the success be based on how hard you practice?
I would say a lot of it. Like, I would say 90% of it probably. And 10% is probably that talent.
Well, there's a study by a guy from Michigan State University. And he essentially said that no matter how much you practice... in terms of trying to achieve elite levels of skill and performance, it only accounts for 30%, or about a third, of a difference. So in other words, he did something where he studied 14 musicians, and he looked at them side by side, and, again, some practice, their backsides off. But essentially, it comes back to innate talent. Because, yes, you can actually rise and perform better than others, but only to a limit.
Yeah, not getting to those high echelons of performance,
So then it goes back to things like the age at which you start, your actual intelligence, and your innate abilities. So,
but I guess a lot of that's still like it's a weird thing because these people are going to get there regardless, aren't they? Like, most of them, like even if they have half an opportunity, you'd assume they'd get there.
Well, and then it doesn't take into account things like luck. Like some fields, like the dramatic arts, I think getting a break.
Well, like, let me give you a very visceral analogy. Well, analogy for this. So I've been watching this show called what's it called? It's something like The Specialist or something like that.
Selection.
The Selection. That's it. The Selection. And I forgot the name. I was thinking of Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah, that's alright.
But The Selection, and basically they get 30 normal people. This is the premise. Into army selection training, which is selection that they'd use normally for the Navy SEALs or the Rangers or the Green Berets, that sort of stuff. And these 30 people that go on there, they're really fit. They've signed up for the show, so they've all been training training really hard, and some of them are competitive athletes, and some of them are I don't know, CrossFitters and stuff. But there's heaps of different types of athletes.
But you're talking about elite specimens.
Yeah, like everyone's fit as, right? Yeah, in the show. And they get these people on there, and they don't actually tell them how long the training lasts for, but the idea is that they complete Special Forces training. Now, I guess the caveat to that is they actually don't complete the same 6-month training that a real Navy SEAL would do.
Yeah, it's a condensed program.
It's a condensed program.
It's like an actor would do that in preparation for a movie role.
Yeah, but what was fascinating about that is, as I said, I think this is a very good example of what she was talking about. Yeah. Because throughout this program, 30 people started, and by day one, the end of day one, how many had quit?
10?
Yeah, it was about 10. I think it was 5 or 10 on the first day.
Wow.
And then on the second day, by the end of the second day, how many were left out of the 30?
I don't know, 10?
15.
15 were left out of 30. Only 50%. So the attrition rate was 50% by the second day.
By 2 days. And again, spoiler alert, this is the king of spoilers, this show, so I might as well just put in another one. Yeah. By the end of it, there's only 4 people, I think it is, that actually completed. 4 people out of 30. So this goes back to show, for me, that if you want to get somewhere, if you want to achieve something...
Hard work.
Well, what did all of these 4 guys have in common?
Stubborn persistence.
Stubbornness and the inability to say no, or the inability to say I quit.
Yeah.
It was basically these guys that just kept going, and no matter how punished their body was or anything.
Craziness.
So mentally, they were so strong. Because like I said, physically, they all kind of started in the same spot.
Sure.
But mentally, these guys just pushed through. So for me, that kind of links to this idea of, if you want to not be mediocre, then you just got to fight for it, and you got to keep going for it and never stop, and never, stop to question, just do it. Because...
Well, I'm motivated. I think we should end that on a high note, because that's pretty motivating right there.
Cool, man.
Yeah, good words. All right. Mockpod, episode 11.